All right, what's up, everyone? And thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Braden. I'm one of the founders of Robo. We've been doing these quite a bit. This is our fourth interview video that we're going to be doing. We're always trying to bring on new and exciting people that actually use 3D printers in really cool and unique ways. And yeah, it's just, honestly, we're doing this to inspire other people that may have 3D printers, that may want to get ideas of things they can actually print at home. Maybe some of these people we bring on have special techniques that they use that can benefit someone. So today, without further ado, I will introduce him. Today we have a really, really cool kid on. His name's Michael. He runs an Instagram channel called Paragon Studios, and he does some pretty incredible stuff in cosplay. And I know cosplay is a big industry now, especially in the 3D printing community. So we're going to bring him on, talk to him, interview him, find out some of the stuff that he's doing and some of the techniques that he's doing. So without further ado, let me bring him in right here. His name is Michael. If you guys have any questions, feel free to write below. Questions, I'll ask him on the way. What's up, Michael? How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing?
Good, good. And he's in his garage right now. We had it open up, but there was a lawnmower out there, so the sound got a little messed up. But as long as that goes away, you can open it up still and get some of that light in. Michael, what's up? How you doing, man?
I'm good. Just hanging out, doing what I normally do in here. I spend a lot of time in here.
Yeah, you have your little man cave in there, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. I kind of keep my stuff around here because I don't really have a place for it yet in my room, but I need to build some shelvings to put all these guys on. But I brought everything down here.
Yeah, it looks like you got a lot of prints in there. We'll open up the garage there so we can get some light on that too as we get started. But first thing I always ask, yeah, go ahead. You can do it right now. It's perfect.
Yep. Cool.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, perfect.
Better?
Now we got some light in there. We can see.
Bit of a
guys can see. No, it's good. It's good. It's good. Yeah. All right. So the first question I always ask Michael, I always ask anyone that's on here is, who is Michael Hall? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I've always been a creative person. I started drawing when I was about maybe 1 or 2. I don't remember when. But I've always wanted things that I knew weren't real, but I still wanted to have them. And the closest I could get at that age was to draw them out. So the first things I would draw were like Spider-Man, Superman, all that sort of stuff. And I always liked action figures as well because I had a miniature version of some of my favorite things. And that was about as close as I could get.
What was your favorite action figure?
Favorite action figure?
Putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, I had a lot. Black Suit Spider-Man.
Nice. Okay.
One of my favorites. Venom.
Cool.
Yeah, Iron Man. All those guys.
So you've always been into a lot of these, the superheroes, the characters, things like that, the comic book type stuff. Yeah.
For sure. Everything is about the characters for me. Nice.
And so how old are you, by the way?
I'm 17.
Only 17 years old. So this is pretty cool because I love, this is my, we have users that are all different ages. I mean, all the way ranging down to even 9-year-olds, all the way up to, 60, 70-year-olds. I mean, we actually have our 3D printer in a senior care home right now that we just found out about, and people are using it. So it's cool. I talked to a lot of people at different age ranges, but it's cool to see you starting at an early age, getting into 3D printing and designing and just making all sorts of cool stuff. So you've been tagging us in a lot of the stuff. That's how we found you.
Yeah.
And so we started seeing some of the stuff you're doing, and it's just incredible. My social media guys we got to get this guy on the channel. So it's cool
to hear.
Yeah, it's cool to hear that you're already starting on designing your own stuff, and we'll kind of get into that in a little bit. So early on you started drawing. At what point did you become aware of 3D printing?
It was when I figured out about cosplay. Not too long after that, I realized, actually from xrobots.co.uk, you can check him out. That's where I first learned about him, using him for this kind of application.
Yeah.
I realized that it would solve all of my creative problems.
Yeah.
Because before I was making stuff with trying to make stuff with Pepakura models, and those things are really, really fiddly and hard to do. Yeah. And I just became obsessed with 3D printers. They just fascinated me and still do.
Yeah.
And I really wanted one, and I got one for my birthday.
Nice. What age did you get one?
It was I think it was 2015. So I was about,
Okay, so a couple years ago. So you're 15 years old. Cool.
Yeah.
Did you go from you started drawing? Did you go and like ever get into like making things out of clay? Was there any in between, or was it just drawing straight to 3D printing?
There was definitely an in between.
Okay.
I figured out about EVA foam that a lot of people use for cosplay, and I still use that stuff. But I just couldn't get the detail that I can with 3D printers. So I was always looking for ways to improve the detail, and eventually I discovered 3D printers, and I was like, that's what I need. That's the thing that's going to move me forward.
Did you get into doing any 3D design? Like, what program do you use to design? How did you get into that?
I started with 123D Design. It's called Autodesk. It's like a simplified version of Fusion, and unfortunately they don't support that anymore. But it's a very easy way to start to learn. So that's where I first started 3D modeling, and I actually 3D modeled about a year or two before I even had a printer, because I knew once I got one, I wanted to start right away. So I started teaching myself like the fundamentals of 3D modeling.
Where did you go to learn? Did you watch YouTube videos, or how did you actually learn to design, or did you just dive into it and start making?
I looked up again from James Bruton from X Robots. He has videos that are tutorials, and he goes through the making process, and that's where I learned a lot of my initial stuff from his videos, and then I would just experiment, play around with 3D modeling stuff until I eventually was good enough to make actual objects, which didn't take too long, but learning all of the fine details on like construction was took a while.
Yeah, we started this company, obviously, we didn't have tons of background in 3D printing. It was like the same thing. We went to YouTube, and we were watching videos on how to build your own machine and talking to people on forums. And so it's amazing how much like resources out there, even though 3D printing and 3D design actually is kind of difficult. Like the actual design elements, you watch a couple videos. And now I don't know if you ever did any courses, like official courses, but there's stuff on Udemy now, udemy.com, where you can learn how to do 3D design and 3D modeling. So it's pretty cool. So did you still what program do you still use to do 3D modeling?
I graduated to Fusion now. I use Fusion pretty much all the time. Because
a lot of people have started to use Fusion.
Yeah,
it seems like kind of the go-to.
It's free for hobbyists.
Yeah.
But it's pretty simple. Even if you don't know a lot of tools, you can use a few set of tools to make kind of everything you need.
What were the limitations on 123D that led you to start using Fusion?
So making helmets was ridiculous in 123D Design. And it's still hard in Fusion, but in 123D Design, you didn't have the sculpt software space. I'm forgetting the name of it. So you couldn't start off with like kind of Play-Doh and kind of like form the general shape of your helmet. And then you start doing all the detail. You would have to like kind of calculate every single step, and even then it would be kind of weird, and you have to like break rules and cheat your way to get the look you want. With Fusion, since you have that sculpting environment, you can get your design out faster and more accurately.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we already have people writing, Michael, you're so talented.
That's my mom right there.
It might be your mom right there. He's amazing. Been drawn since he was 2 years old.
Hey, Mom.
So Michael is telling the truth. What's up, Mom? How you doing? Thank you for letting us interview your son here. This is awesome, and we're loving what he's doing. So you get it. You're designing now. You get your 3D printer. You've been doing it for 2 years. Design. So you're ready to rock by that point. You've already designed stuff, and you're like, I'm ready to print this and bring it to life.
Yes.
Well, how did you decide? Did you say, like, how did you find out about Robo? Did you say, like, hey, there's a 3D printer I want? Or
I think you know him personally, actually. Mike at Valor Props.
Sounds familiar. Yeah, it sounds familiar.
I actually befriended him on accident because I thought he was Vulpin Props.
Okay.
And he actually turned out to be a really good friend of mine.
Nice.
And I asked, what do you use? And he was like, I use Robos. And he recommended the R1 Plus.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, perfect. I'll I mean, he does it as a living, so
Yeah.
I bought one, and he didn't disappoint at all.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so so when you got your machine, you you already knew how to do 3D design. Tell me about, like, did you just dive straight into it? What materials were you using? Tell me a little bit about that.
So my first printer, though, actually was a XYZ printer.
Okay.
And you can only use PLA in that one.
Yeah.
And it's very small, so all my stuff was printed very small and put together. So way more seam lines to go over. And what I think I kind of glazed over it as I was learning was the post-processing. I studied all about the printer and only a little bit on post-processing. So as I was building, now you can see a steady increase of skill now that I learned more post-processing stuff as I go. Because even though I love 3D printers, 3D printers are a big part in what I do, they're not you can't just take it out of the machine and I'm done. Some people love to do that. They just like to print stuff, and that's awesome. But for me, it's a tool in my workflow. Yeah.
So, all right, let's dive into this, because you're already like teasing everyone with some of the stuff you've made. So, one of the reasons why, to everyone that's watching or everyone that's going to watch this later on YouTube, one of the reasons why we brought on Michael is because also his just incredible post-processing work. So it's some of the best we've seen, and that's what he's talking about right now. It's not just about, some people do like taking the 3D print off the platform and they just use it as is, but you actually take it to the whole next step, which is actually, painting it. We'll go through some of that process, but tell us about some of the stuff, like what you make most of the time. And you can see some of it behind you, but.
Most of the time it's, their helmets, their guns, there's props, they're not so much, they're things I think are really awesome, and that 3D printing is the way to make them.
Is it from movies? Is it from video games? All the above?
Yeah, video games, movies, my own imagination. Usually it's their replicas, because I love pop culture stuff. I love Marvel, DC, Star Wars especially. It's my obsession. And Blade Runner and sci-fi everything, fantasy, Lord of the Rings, you name it. So that's the kind of stuff that I like to make, but it's certainly not the only thing you can do.
Do you take? I'm just gonna put it on your screen right now because there's a lot of cool stuff on there. Do you take? So you take some of these ideas from the movies and actually design your own based on that, make like iterations of it, or do you try and like design as you see it and print it out? Like,
I try to get as accurate as I can. There are certain things where I will take some liberties. So I can sort of have like, oh, that would be kind of cool if I did this little tweak, but it's nothing major usually. That's
it's all. Yeah. Let's show us some of the stuff back there. So you have it looks like you have a whole table of cool.
Yeah, I have
stuff
you've
actually printed.
So kind of years of stuff. We can start with the first real helmet I made.
So most of you guys are going to recognize these, obviously, because a lot of them are movies.
I made some others before this one, but this is the first one where I really knew what I was doing. And actually, this is actually horribly inaccurate. The proportions are way off on this one. But it was also my first helmet in Fusion that I made. So you can see it's kind of weird and like.
Oh my god! It still looks amazing.
How it should be. Thank you. It looks good from that, from over there, because I guess the perspective changes and this looks wider. But this is actually supposed to be way more out. And I was really happy when I made this, and I still am. It's like
what's the design? So is that, I'm sure obviously you printed that in pieces. What's the design? How long did it take you to design that from scratch?
Probably, I think helmets take about 75 hours, start to finish.
Oh wow!
All the time. Print time, and model time, everything.
75. Okay, so that's actually a really good perspective for people. So designing it, and you're now pretty expert probably level at doing the design part on Fusion. So because you've been doing it for a while and you're only getting better at it. So that gives us a good idea like of what it would take to do something start to finish from scratch. So I think you're pretty accurate in that. 75 hours is probably pretty good. That's pretty cool. How many pieces was that?
Yeah. Let's see. It's about 1, 2, probably about 6, 7, 8, maybe.
So one of the limitations people always say, because we try and bring bigger prints to the show. We have a big build platform for the R1 that we're using, but people always think like, oh, I want to print something bigger than that. And so you design that, and then you cut it up into pieces, and you're to the dimensions of the printer, and then you print each one
strategically.
Yeah,
very strategically, because if you even if it did fit in your printer and you threw it in there like this, that's going to waste a ton as support material, everything.
Yeah, so you designed it and cut it based on like how you wanted it to lay on the platform, so it's the most optimal printing.
Exactly. So thinking about which way the layers are going to go, thinking about overhangs. Like if I'm printing a cylinder, for example, printing it horizontally on the bed would be horrible. You want to print it straight up, so the circular part is like this, rather than trying to do the step over layer, and you get really nasty results if you do that.
Yeah, this is something we were talking about doing. I think we're going to be doing more of this, like especially on like Instagram and stuff. Is just like little how-tos on how to print better and how to design better and things like that. Because I feel like there's a lot of those. When we talk to people like teachers and anyone that's using our printer, there's a lot of this. Oh, well, I printed it this way and it didn't come out as good. And it's like, oh, well, if you just turned it this way, it would have came out way better. And so we see a lot of discoveries. So yeah.
And I learned pretty much through trial and error. So I would print something, I'd be like, that looks weird, and then I would try to flip it around and oops, don't want to. I'm just gonna leave it.
You got a lot of stuff on there.
I
packed it all in. I told. For anyone that's watching, I asked Michael if he could bring some stuff, and we always ask when we bring people on. We're like, hey, bring like all the stuff you printed, and obviously you have a ton of stuff back there you've been working on. So you're a mad scientist of the 3D printer.
I am.
So let's see some of the other stuff too.
Okay, and I want to point out real quick, one, these two right here. That's it. Yeah, these are the only two that aren't my file.
Okay.
Like that. So, but the post-processing, of course, I did myself.
We can get, the designer? We can give him credit on here. We always like to do that, obviously.
This is Do 3D right here.
Dude?
Do 3D.
Do 3D, okay.
DO 3D.
Okay, cool.
They have gorgeous files. This is so accurate. I think the only things that are slightly inaccurate are these cheek rings.
Nice.
But I'm not entirely sure.
And what else do you have? It looks like you have a... Yeah, okay, go ahead.
This Daredevil helmet is, I don't know his name, but it is on Thingiverse. If you type in Daredevil helmet or something, I'm sure it's...
That's amazing. Can you bring that closer to the camera? I want people to see this like close up, because this is just incredible stuff. And like, honestly, the one that I obviously posted the picture of was, actually, I don't. Which one did I post? I posted a couple of pictures, but...
I'm not sure, actually. I think the Pacific Rim one, and maybe
it might be the Pacific Rim one, yeah.
Yeah, but this wasn't too many pieces. This is about 4, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, about 4 pieces. And this back is magnetic, so you can actually get it on your head.
Yeah.
It just sticks on there. And I wear like a fabric thing under, and then there's tinted red.
So did you wear a costume you printed for Halloween this year?
Actually, I was Han Solo for Halloween this year.
Did you?
I do have the DL44.
Oh, nice. Okay, there we go.
So,
nice.
It's actually not entirely done. I still need to dye this back to black. I just took off the Denix logo and then this back to black. Because this... Yeah.
Kobe, my business partner, printed like 4 of those things. He loves them.
Yeah. The base of this is actually a replica Mauser C96 from Denix. And so it's heavy. It's weighted. Because the real gun is exactly that. And I printed this part, this whole scope mount and the scope, and this front barrel to make it the famous Han Solo DL44.
Did you design that stuff, or did you download that online?
I designed all of it off of reference images. I import them.
This is so cool, man. I love it. This is stuff I love, man. Here's the thing for everyone. Also, I want to bring myself up here. Is we sell these printers and people buy them. Some of them like win them in contests, whatever it may be, and we get like. I actually didn't realize how many cool, amazing people were going to start using them. And so this is why I get really excited is when you start showing me this, I'm like, oh my God, this kid's like designing all this cool stuff because he loves it. he's like bringing his dreams to life. And this is like just started with, this tool that we like kind of just brought into the world. So it's like, I get super proud when I see people making cool stuff like you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Side note there. Yeah.
I love the Robos because they're very upgradable.
Yeah.
They're very they're more on the technical side of the printers, because you see companies like MakerBot, which are great printers, but they're very closed systems.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
we wanted that one to be open. We wanted people to hack on it. I mean, it was a maker machine. I mean, when we first built it, that's what we were doing when we first made it. So yeah.
And and they look beautiful. Also, a lot of those printers that are very hackable don't look great, but the Robos are certainly slick, to say the least.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It looks like do we have any more? I just want to ask. Matt Hall said that one is the best. Let's show that. I kept your mom's comment up there for too long. I forgot I had to hide it. So Debbie was up there for quite a while saying you're amazing.
Thanks, Mom.
All right, and let's keep showing some of the stuff there, because I know the audience loves to see some of the stuff that you do.
Let's go with Star-Lord.
And then walk us through some of. So you take the print off, you put it together. I don't know if you're super gluing it, if you're epoxying it, or how you're putting it all together. And then also the post processing, what you do.
So I'll just go through. I'll go through this one, start to finish.
Cool.
So it starts with a 3D model in the computer. Based off of reference images. So I get a profile, I get a front, and if I can get one, a top, a back, and maybe a bottom. But
where do you find those images? Do you just search them on Google Images?
Yeah, I search and I get the best side view and the best front view, and then I get as straight on as possible. And that's because I'm modeling orthographically. So there's no perspective. So it's not like how you and I see. Everything's on the same plane when you look at it on the side. So you can see really where you're putting the detail. And so I start off with a blob of mass in 3D modeling, and then I kind of like mess with it like dough until the curvatures are there, until it's the general shape, so none of the features. And then as soon as I get it close enough, I draw a sketch. So imagine if this was the sketch plane. I draw a line to cut out like this area. I draw a line to cut out the bottoms. And then I start importing cylinders, and then I start drawing more on the profiles to make these lines in there by like splitting the body, and then I extrude like cylinders with the eyes. Then
you start going like hardcore details at that point.
As much as I can get in there, every little thing I see, I try to put it in there. And then I slice it up, keeping in mind how it's going to print. And I try to limit it to not too many pieces, so I'll sacrifice maybe some detail, just so it's not too many pieces.
I gotcha.
And then I'll fix it later after it's printed. And then I get the pieces, I glue them together, but first I sand with 220 grit where the seams are going to meet, so the glue has something to hold on to. I either use epoxy or super glue, and if I use super glue, I will go back over with epoxy on the back of the seams, and I usually do that anyway. Just to make sure nothing's
got an extra strong hold on there.
Right.
So you sand it first with 220, and then you use super glue, put it together, and then a lot of the time put epoxy where the seam is.
Or a flexible sealant. Sometimes I use, and then I sand it for a long time, starting with sometimes 80, and then I go to 220, and then I go to 400, and then 800, and then. And
you're hand sanding this?
Yeah, just by hand. I have a whole drawer of sandpaper over here, just filled with it. And usually the 220 is kind of like the workhorse. That'll get you most of the way there. But in between sanding, it's hard to tell what's smooth and what's not smooth. So I use stuff called filler primer. I have a bottle of it right here.
So you go low grit all the way up to higher grit in like 200 grit denominations.
Yeah, more or less. And then I use this stuff in between sanding, and this is a high build formula. So
filler primer.
It'll start to fill in the smaller imperfections. And also, it makes everything one color, so I can see exactly how smooth it is.
You see what Nick said right there?
Yeah. Thanks, Nick. That means a lot to me. I love those comments.
And for anyone that's gonna watch this too, I'll have Michael send me some of maybe a quick breakdown, and we can put this on the video too, so you guys know the process.
And then to get rid of the seam lines, I go over with Bondo. So it's really cheap, like $8 for quite a bit of it, and it's a 1-to-10 mix ratio. Mix it up. It's very gooey. You slather it on to the seam lines, and then once it dries, you can sand it flush to the rest of the print. And
cool. At that point, do you just have to use a high grit sandpaper? Once the Bondo's there, do you have to go through that same process?
It depends. Yeah, pretty much the same process. And I usually do the Bondo as I'm sanding the whole thing, so everything's kind of like at the same time. Nice. Until you get a smooth enough finish. If you want a very glossy product like this one, you're going to sand a lot more to like a higher grit, even though that doesn't take very long because it's lower grit.
Will you show that one to the close up to the camera, just so people can see how cool that one looks? I think that's the one I actually posted.
I think that's the one you used.
I mean, that is just incredible. So
thank you. It's almost done.
Nick messaged me and he was just like, "Dude, you gotta check this out." And I saw it and I was like, "This is unreal." There's a quality that goes into it, and we have guys. I mean, we have tons of customers that do post processing work. I just saw this, and I was like, I could tell how long and how much energy you put into making it look like this good. And
thank you. Thank you so much.
Cool.
I think
that's why Nick's over there saying, pack your bags and move to Hollywood.
Actually, I don't live too far from there, so
there you go.
Actually, it's where my career path seems to be lining up so far.
Nice,
but
cool.
So for this one, it's only missing the visor to cover my eyes.
Cool.
Other than that, it's completely finished.
And then you go. So you've Bondo, you've done and sanded it again. Now it's perfectly smooth, no seam lines, nothing like that. And now what do you do from there?
Now begins paint. So I usually give it a dust off with my airbrush just to get any dust particles off. Make sure it's, for the most part, clean. A lot of people like to get even alcohol and wipe it down, make sure, and they wear gloves. And now begins the painting. So since it's usually mostly primed already with the filler primer, I usually don't put a primer. I just go straight to the color. And
are all these done with PLA?
All these in PLA, yeah.
PLA, okay, cool.
If it was ABS, I'd be doing a solvent welds by melting more ABS, making a glue, putting them together.
Yeah. Cool.
I just like PLA because it's very easy to work with. And even though I don't have the budget for it yet, I would like to mold and cast all of these and cast them in a resin.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing.
So they're all uniform pieces. They're a little bit heftier. They feel a little bit more lifelike. But prints look great. And
do you tape everything off after you Bondo it?
To get the paint, like the different colors and stuff. So for this one's a good example. This one was started as just black. I painted it all with spray paint black. And then, because I'm trying to think, what's the bottom layer of this? Right? I'm trying to think of materials.
Can you bring that one closer so we can see it?
Yeah, for sure. So it started as this color. And then I masked everything I wanted to stay black, painted the blue, and then I masked everything except for the silver parts, and I used a special airbrush paint called Alclad. Alclad 2 high polish lacquers, and you get some amazing results. You can get really metal stuff, like this was used on that. And if your base coat is really extra glossy, you'll get a very powerful shine.
Nice.
So that's what the silver was done with.
So most of this is you're airbrushing most of this, right?
Yeah. Actually, I don't airbrush too much as of now. I usually stick to rattle cans if I can get the color, which I usually can. I usually can get the right pigment. But for details like this, so the silver was airbrushed, and as well as small paint chippings. So I imagine that this black part is actually like the plastic of the real helmet. So getting these little paint chips is easy once you you can just mask that off with like a little bit of mustard. It's a good trick you can do. Paint the blue, and then when you wipe the mustard off, it leaves the paint like that, and that looks really good on metal stuff, like this over here. These striping details.
Oh yeah.
I use that same technique, and it looks like a piece of metal.
Oh man, there's so much detail in these. It's crazy.
Thank you. I love putting in all the love and extra work to get these to look good. And for this little eagle, I printed a stencil. So I just imported a picture to 3D software, converted it into an SVG file, and then that can be imported into Fusion. So then I can extrude the negative. So I have a disc that has an eagle punched out.
Okay, we might need to do a whole blog post on this or something, because this is like,
I could go on and on.
There's so much great information. I feel like people are gonna want to do things like this, and I know some of our users already do it, maybe not to this extent. So it would be good to get sort of your how-to on how to do it, and then we could turn it into a blog post and we share it with everyone.
That would be awesome.
They can make whatever they want to make. So yeah, this is just so cool. Man, the amount of detail you put into these things is just crazy.
Yeah, once you get up close, you can really see.
Is this a project you're working on right there?
Yeah, this is Kylo. I'm actually doing the entire costume. So I 3D modeled this one myself. It's a little inaccurate, but I made it, and I always like to. I usually like to use the stuff that I make rather than something that's totally accurate.
I gotcha.
And you can see I have started. I don't know how well this is going to pick up, but
I can see it. I can see it pretty well.
You can see little imperfections. Yeah. And you can see little layer lines sticking out still, and this is halfway. I want to say.
Patricia Hall said, "I'm proud of you."
Oh, no. That's my granny.
Granny.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. Welcome to the feed. My grandma always posts on here. Every once in a while, she posts "Love you, honey," and it's on our actual Robo page post, and I always laugh. So
it's awesome.
Good. It's good to have the grandmas on Facebook.
Yeah, for
rocking
sure. So that one's about halfway done.
How much longer does that? You said you're doing the full costume with that?
Yeah, I have the belt over here. So
yeah, let's check that out.
3D printing. I wanted to bring this up. Also, doesn't have to be all printed for it to be cool.
Benjamin wrote something. This is sort of what I want to get into. The stream is perfect for me.
Awesome.
So yeah, this is Benjamin that you're watching it. Thanks for posting something. I think I'm going to go more in depth with Michael on this, maybe in another post, because there's a lot of great information. A lot of actual tools that he uses. A lot of materials that he uses. So it'd be nice to get a download of all that.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I'm really excited for that.
Anyway, so we got this. This is 3D printed. This is the belt buckle. So that'd be kind of hard to make from a flat piece of plastic or something.
Yeah.
It's got a little intricate little things. Yeah. And this is just a piece of leather. I've been learning how to leather work.
Nice.
So that'll sit like this, and this will be dyed black, of course.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's so cool.
Finished product. This is a Star-Lord's belt from Guardians of the Galaxy, and these are printed.
My brother loved that. Yeah.
And the buckle is printed, and the rest is leather work, and it's just a magnet to stick it on and off.
Nice.
Because I'm doing the costume for this as well.
So you did all the little detail on the buckle there, right?
Yeah, I 3D modeled the buckle. I 3D modeled the little triangle pieces, and then I did my standard procedure with sand. There's only one piece on both of these, so I didn't need to cover any seams. So I just sanded them, and then
Sweet.
Give them a paint job.
Man, I love it, dude. Yeah, we're gonna definitely. I'm overwhelmed at how cool all this stuff is. So we're definitely gonna need to do a follow-up post. Yeah, this is once again to your mom. Thank you for letting him come on and show. Thank you for showing this, dude. This is cool. Thank you for getting him a 3D printer. It's cool to see. I mean, you're the type of people I love using our product, because everyone else I know. I mean, you can see Benjamin on there said something people are going to get inspired watching this and want to create their own stuff, and it's just going to continue. This movement of 3D printing in general, which is what we want.
I love it.
So, yeah,
it's definitely a part of my life now. Is 3D printing.
Is there anything else that beyond all the amazing stuff that you're making? Is there anything else? Is most of your energy focused on making these type of things?
Yeah, I would say so. Let me think.
Are you selling, like, what are you selling these? Is this for you, for fun, or what's the future look like for Michael Hall?
It started as a hobby, but
yeah,
you know, it's kind of turned into my passion. It's what I love to do. I'm in here at least 2 to 6 hours a day, probably.
Bonnie said the Star Wars belt is she said the Star-Lord belt is fabulous, just perfect.
Thanks, Tiffany. That's my girlfriend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Your whole family's on the feed right now. Like,
I know. It's all my family.
I love it. I love it.
And I would like to sell these, but I don't want to sell my only one. I have a personal connection to them. So next step for me is to really start molding and casting so I can make copies to sell, either finished or unfinished to people like me. If you don't have they just want to build something.
We got to follow your journey, and we need everyone that's watching this or going to watch this to follow your journey. Where do they go? Do you want everyone following your Instagram channel at Paragon Studios?
Yeah, that's really where I post everything right now. Eventually, I would love to have a YouTube channel, but I'm still trying to set up the infrastructure for everything to actually have a successful, constant YouTube channel and eventually business where I sell stuff. So right now, you can follow I post all of my updates on my stuff on Paragon Studios 2016. And
we'll post it on the comments too. So we'll post that. Say it one more time. Paragon
Studios 2016. Because that's when I started. It was like I think near the end of 2016 where I started using that name.
Cool, definitely, yeah. So we'll post that in the comments section too, and I'll post it on the YouTube channel with also your Instagram channel, which you guys should go follow because Michael's always posting really cool stuff that he's designing. And I think moving down the YouTube route for you would be like a no-brainer because people probably want to build exactly what you're doing step by step. So leading them through that process would be really cool, especially because you're making stuff that everyone has like, emotional attachment to, right? It's movies that they love, characters that they love. So yeah, I think it would be a great idea.
I'm a maker and I have deep personal attachments to everything on this table. Being able to have these things really allows me to connect to the world. That's really how I express myself is
I dig it.
Through stuff.
Yeah. I love it, man. We might even turn this into a bigger video. I don't know. This is just all really cool. And so thank you for spending some time. You're probably the longest that we've actually spent on these live interviews because there's so much stuff that you have here. And I wanted to know that process. You're the first person that's like, we've really interviewed that's done like a full scale post-processing. So that's definitely something I wanted to cover. So thank you for sharing that with us. Hopefully we can turn this into something more, whether it's a video, definitely a blog post, talking about your process that you use. And I'm sure everyone that's going to watch this is going to get really inspired. So thanks a lot for coming on for us. Any shout outs you want to give, anything like that?
I don't think so.
Your whole family's on here, so shout out to the family.
Yeah, I love my family. All of them are watching right now, and I really appreciate that. They've supported me through every step of the way of this. They've always let me do what I wanted to do and pursue what I like to do instead of telling me I should go to, I don't know, some sort of college, get some lawyer degree, and be boring.
Hey, you got to do what you love, man, and you're doing incredible stuff. So to the family, I know Michael's got a bright future. Excited to kind of follow your journey. I'm going to keep following you on Paragon. I already put notifications when you post stuff. So
awesome.
Check everything out that you're making. So cool. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming on. We'll keep in touch with you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.
So cool to, do this.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you later.